Hi everyone, Frankie B from Frozen Sand here with another episode of Working with Power Tools, and we're going to complete up our lecture series on the conversion of Casa over into Unreal 4. This is going to be the artist prerogative episode where I'm going to cover some of the tools that and widgets and gadgets as to where I'll be going from here as to completion, and go off on my own to finish it off as to completion. And then of course months later we'll do a kind of a walkthrough to get an idea then of what what I said, if it's a case of what I say is what I actually do, kind of thing. But a lot of throughout the course of the lecture series, I've kind of brushed over some of the more subtle nuts and bolts that can make a difference between having a good time versus a level of frustration that I've certainly experienced over the last year. And this is the kind of information that took a while for me to figure out. So I can get to some level and some degree of predictability in the results. So that's what we have right now. We have a canvas to work with, and what I'm seeing right now, it doesn't look too good, but it, on the other hand, is what I expect, and as to predictability. So and I know for this stage now that I can move forward, and the kind of results that I'm looking for will start to surface as I start making quality types of improvements. Now, light maps, of course, I don't know if I mentioned it before, is static, which means that it's built into the texture and materials. So that doesn't add into any kind of performance hindrance or impact. So we can make this look as good as we want. And things like dynamic lighting and shadowing, of course, falls under the category let's say artistic prerogative, and that's I don't want to go too off on a tangent about changing this, changing that. Oh, this will look better, etc. Just pointing out some of the things that that should be corrected. Now, to kind of answer an FAQ question that's been popping up, to kind of go off to one side here, somebody kind of asked the question: can you use GDK Radiant to actually make a map for Unreal 4, which is would require on a message board. The simple answer to the question would be yes, but the longer explanation would be but you're going to have to try it to make sure that, of course, that the export of the OBJ, you can't import an OBJ into Unreal 4. So in theory, you could certainly make a map in GDK Radiant, and then export it to LBJ, just in the same way we create a pathway from Radiant to OBJ, from OBJ to 3ds Max, from 3ds Max to FBX, from FBX into Unreal 4. FBX just creates a much nicer, easier, as demonstrated, easier to understand workflow between one application to the other. But certainly GDK, you could go that direction, but you're kind of on your own for now. I'll take a look at it in the future. I got too much to do right now as far as what we have in hand. But at some point, I'll see if I can just generate an OBJ and pop that into Unreal 4. On the other hand, now that I mention it, since Unreal 4 does support OBJ, somebody out there is kind enough to do that work for us, so I don't have to do it, then I would be grateful. And if you come back to urbanterror.info and report back onto your findings. But as demonstrated, certainly when we've tried to bring anything out as to OBJ, it tends to flip the normals and invert the and mirror and do this and that. So it botches up the textures and materials work. So if you bring it in as an OBJ and you get a one-to-one correspondence, certainly of the textures and materials, which is the important part, then you just have to work out a workflow from there to there that's to your taste. If it doesn't come in with the texture alignment, then you got that's a deal breaker, because there's no way for you to be able to correct the UV mapping problems that are inside of that occur within that transfer. So we'll have to take a look at it. On the other hand, to make a suggestion, maybe there's some programmers out there, coders out there. Epic does have their grant system up, and they granted Blender 10 grand to implement a fully compatible and compliant FBX system into Blender and then that all of a sudden, boom, became a preferred tool for creating maps and map objects and blah blah blah, etc. as a mesh editor. Now, GDK, contrary to popular belief, as some may have suggested on the message boards, no, I do not hate Blend GDK Radiant. As a matter of fact, I like it. I love it. It's a great little editing application in its simplest form, and I would be more than happy to have used it if it had that FBX exporter. To me, though, if an application does not have FBX, then that's more or less a deal breaker, because the pain in the butt that of correcting the materials and textures that I demonstrated here is not something fun to do on a consistent basis, unless we're talking about the need to do a map conversion. So, somebody who wants to have that skills, apply to apply for a 10K grant, to pay for your effort or whatever. Put FBX into Radiant, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be happy to be able to use that as a real simple editor for making environments, because obviously the answer to the question is yes, because obviously we proved that we can take a .map file out and do a conversion. But if it does some funky things with the OBJ, that's a big deal breaker, and then you have to go through the pain and suffering of figuring out how the mappings will behave. How will the OBJ file behave in a particular application? As I mentioned previous, that OBJ is almost an off-the-cuff, off-the-fly specification, and each version is you got to kind of match up the name of it to the proper importer. So you have Bob's OBJ, you have to have Bob's OBJ exporter, you have to have Bob's OBJ importer. So try it out, see what happens. You never know, it might just snap right in. You might have the specifications by miracle might line up, and you're off to the races that route, and FBX would just kind of sort of be a really nice addition, so to speak. So moving forward and moving on, we're going to look at and examine some of the widgets and gadgets that you'll initially be facing, and you're kind of sitting there wondering, well, what the heck do I have to do to make things work? What has to be in to actually create some degree and level of expectability? So first thing we'll look at is the light mass importance volume. Now this is really a simple has one simple function, and that is to limit and restrict the amount of calculations that's needed within a block of volume defined by the space. So that way, that means that the light mass is not calculating everything and anything within the environment in one go. So a map like Mykonos has an importance volume around it, which has a much higher detail than this. Makes a difference between a 2-hour rebuild of the lighting versus 14-hour without it, because it's trying to calculate everything. It just basically restricts all calculations to be contained within this volume of space, and then ignores everything outside it. So that's a handy-dandy way to increase or to decrease the build times for your lighting. That's a simple job. That's all it does. The other thing that usually is involved with the default map is this little item here. This is a atmospheric fog. It just basically decolor. As we can see in the sky, light is dirty. It's not clean. It's not 111, and it has various different elements that are involved that diffuses the lighting as it comes down. So that's more or less what the atmospheric fog does. But it also replicates a lot of other features that are available in other solutions that I'll be demonstrating. Oh, excuse me, got the hiccups. So, light multiplier, you can see it increases and of course decreases the overall glare and intensity of it, but as well as increase the fog, density multiplier. So this kind of just really changes what's happening in the atmospheres. It can add, but it's to me, it's one of those we're going for something a little bit more photorealistic kind of tool. So I just don't like it. I get rid of it, and that way we're not dealing with another red herring that can cause problems that we have to kind of check out when something's not reacting properly. Things can interact well or interact badly, and then if the things are interacting badly, it's a real pain to figure out, okay, is that problem in the skylight, is that problem in the directional light, etc., etc. Now we do have two primary types of volume lightings. We have the skylight, and we have a directional light, and they can either work on their own, or they can work together in combination with another, or you can choose one over the other, etc., etc. So once again, artistic prerogative, so to speak. Lighting, of course, being static, it doesn't matter how many lights you have. Whatever you need to kind of boost it up, you can put 10,000 lights into it, and it's not dynamic until we tell it to. So say, for example, if we make it movable, then we're dealing with a dynamic lighting. But let's see, here's what it looks like with just directional light. It flattens out the lighting solution a little bit. I find this it's pretty good. I don't think it has the kind of depth that I'm looking for. On the other hand, if I'm using the skylight, it floods the area too much. But until we start getting materials done, a little bit more PBR type of effect to it, this is a good canvas to work with. We can see what's going on, and then once we start getting materials adds an impact to the overall lighting effect. Light hits a surface, needs to bounce off of it. We're using just a diffused material. The lighting that hits it and tries to bounce off it doesn't know where to go. So because there's no information on it at all to tell what kind of surface it is. This is a thing that's kind of generic in nature. A procedural type of materials. They assist. They add a parameter to the effect. So if light has to bounce off the surface, in this case there is light bouncing going on, without knowing what type of surface it is, it doesn't know how much energy it should be bounced off of it. Apparently, Unreal 4 does uses real-world lighting calculations to be able to determine the type of a lighting effect that should come off the surface. So something that would strike off a brick wall would certainly be different than something that would bounce off a tiled surface. So the light that bounces off of this wall here would have to be different because of the reflectivity of a given surface that we derive through PBR type materials, or information in the material that explains and says this is this type of material. Now we can either have a metallic surface, a non-metallic surface, or something in between to kind of simulate that. So we would want to kind of if we're going to work on a material system, we need at least some sort of work light. Then that means we're going to, while we do our material works, we got to kind of worry about actually finalizing the lighting solution till later. But we need to make sure, of course, along the way, blah 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 blah, that we keep a nice balance between the various different materials that are surrounding it. You can't have an overbright or an darkened two materials that really don't match up to one another. So that's where these two kind of work in tandem with each other. If we get rid of just the directional light, okay, it's probably connected to this guy here. You can see a distinct difference that looks kind of flat and everything else, and that's because if we look down here, we got cast shadows turned off. So if we turn that back on, we get a different lighting solution altogether once again. And this is to me a little too flat. And that is once again back to the fact that we're just using a flat matte type of material as to textures, but it is generating shadows, and we can play around with this, but we don't have really a direction of that shadow. It's just a general shadowing all together, so we lose that kind of flavoring. So we can kind of combine the two of them together. What I do like is how the ambient occlusion kind of starts to jump out with just this kind of flat lighting system. So by the time we actually get to the actually tweaking the lighting, at some point it just kind of hits you. Now's the time to focus on it. So we can work with one, we can work with the other, but the thing to be concerned about is you can't have a combination of casting shadows at the same time, because it creates rather some. Well, we don't see it now because would have to recompile the light maps, but we get some really kind of funky lighting effects, particularly in the area of foliage. You're going to land up with that translucent top surface, but everything else behind it is going to start looking like a black hole. So, we need shadows, but we need to use the appropriate shadow, cast shadows on the appropriate element. In this case, we need to turn this off because this here is directional lighting, which means it needs to be able to cast shadows. There's no point in using it unless shadow casting is turned on. So, for example, let's go into our rotation. You can see as we turn this how this determines the direction. So, sun's directly more or less overhead. You can tell by the arrow. That will give you the placement of the shadow along your surface. We can do something else too here, funky, make it movable. We now have dynamic lighting, so if we're doing a living environment as to night and day, we can bind the directional light to our little sun here as far as time of day and angle, where it is during the day, and make a living, breathing environment as the sun moves across, which is a cool effect. But for a first-person shooter like ours, we don't really require that. So we can certainly forego any kind of dynamic lighting in exchange for a better performance curve. But something to test certainly with when we start putting foliage in, like trees and what have you. So put a wind energy into it, a speed tree, and have that tree kind of moving around a bit. The shadowing, of course, would have to be dynamic. It would be casting on the ground, but not much of an impact as far as that is concerned. So it's a design decision that it will probably be the last thing that is decided upon 10 minutes prior before we deliver it out the door, kind of thing. So that, as far as artistic prerogatives, that could be one of the last things. Definitely on the plate is replacing all the fakey stuff. I'll get to that in a moment to finish this off. But these two lights, once again, just remember they can be in conflict, especially if we have the skylight with the shadowing, casting, turning on, and it's going to be a bit of not a fun time trying to get the two of them to interact properly. Remember, we got two different lights with two different requirements, and they can either mutually couple and benefit from one another, or they can hinder and create problems one for the other. So at times you might find it a good idea that if you're getting into the area of lighting problems, don't mess around with it anymore. Just take the two lights that are in there, delete them, and put something else into it. Also, just to keep covering the lighting effects a little bit more, we have another light, some more other lights to play with, as in point lights. These are parametric in nature. In other words, they have a fall off, a linear fall off, some sort of. Let's see if I can find it. What is it? Light fall off exponent. There we go. Inverse. It uses an inverse squared fall off as far as shadowing goes. So that is a real world value, which means that the light will cascade outwards to a certain limit as determined by its overall radius, and then start to rapidly fall off on the edges to a smooth, clean exit point. That's going to can give you kittens, because the values that have been assigned to that are rather, they look big. Like a 5,000, an intensity of 5,000 looks rather big, and our attenuation radius is looks pretty far out, like we're way out here. But our lighting effect is really doesn't kind of jive with the radius. So what's the first thing a lot of people start to do is they'll start to play around with this kind of stuff. Okay, come on, get out there. You know, we're not getting out over here really, and well, a little bit as far as our radius goes. Let's try seeing if we can pump that up a little bit more, and it'll follow through. So yeah, okay. But we get this really intense intensity of lighting effect here. That's like a 10,000 watt white light bulb as far as intensity goes. The inverse square, when we're this is more of a photorealistic type of lighting. So if you're looking for that that a more realistic type of result, then of course that type of setup would be pretty good. Now, if we turn off inverse square, that number now, that big number, it's a small number with the fall off turned off, is now a big number. So let's see what we can get out of that. As to intensity, then we can decrease that to 10, which gives us a much more of a nice little kicker type of light, like 1. And we'll bring that up. And then we can add some color variation to it. Okay. So that looks pretty darn good, and that would be I would consider that stylized lighting. It gives you obviously a much bigger radius. If we jack that up a bit and we decrease the radius, confine it, and now it looks more like it gives you that halo effect. So this would be good for doing things like lamps on lampposts, where you get that nice glare off the lamp. And we don't need any fancy types of effects. Obviously, our radius is not big enough, so let's increase that. Yeah. An old-time classic. The intensity is probably still a little too high. We're probably playing around, messing around too much here. Come on, 100. Okay, so we get this nice little antique lighting going on. If we decrease the volumetrics of the lighting, the lighting effect from the directional light, then that'll dial us in. Which actually, this kind of now segments our way into the 20-pound sledgehammer, which is the post effect. Where are you? Post effect. Process volume. We'll click on that. Oh, come on. Still jumping back to old 3ds Max habits. Okay, post effects. We're going to go over that a little bit here as far as some of the features that we have available to us. This this is non-destructive because it is post-process, which means you don't have to recompile your light maps. So there is the ability to finesse your lighting solution to exactly to where you want, without having to change the values of the light each and every time, and then having to recompile your rebuild your light maps to actually see the production, or the at least a preview build. As you can see down here, it's telling us that we botched up our light map, so we're getting a preview view of what the light map would look like. But it really doesn't look like that until you actually do do a lighting build. So once we done all our lighting builds, our post-production, our production value build, then we can use a post-process to kind of tweak it out as you know, it's kind of like an After Effects kind of process of tweaking to taste. Film, I'm not you know, this is one of those things that's if we set that, we can change the overall coloration. I wouldn't say this is a bit aggressive as far as overall light balancing of the environment. You can see it just changes everything to green, including the atmosphere. So you got to be kind of careful about a little being a lot. So now we're in the matrix, and this is going to come in handy, of course, when we try to tune this into being the same kind of orangey color as the Casa original. Casa original has kind of an orangey-ish type of tint to it. So if I can get some color values as to RGB, then we can duplicate that almost to perfection kind of idea. So that's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of back and forth referencing between 4.2 and to get it that same coloration of the lighting effect into HD. And the tint is not necessarily the best tool for that, but we'll have to take a look and see what happens. Saturation, okay, we can oversaturate, turn to black and white. That's about as much as we want to do with that. Contrast, of course. These are not necessarily the greatest little sliders that you want to do anything except for very minute detailing. So underneath it we have expanded and a selection of different types of parameters as far as doing things like tinting and blends and what have you. I'm not going to go all over this. This is this is stuff that you sit down and you say, okay, what does this do? Okay, that doesn't do much. How much does this affect our coloration? So you can see that there is a change occurring, but it's very subtle. We can't really distinguish whether or not that effect is exaggerated. I haven't played with this stuff here. This is kind of new to me. So let's see if we can spin that and see what happens. Yeah, you can see that there's a very, very subtle change, but just be aware that sometimes a little can turn into a lot and compound problems. Scene color, fringe intensity of a big net. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Probably not. Which is just basically framing around the edge that gives it an antique-ish type of look. Now this is probably pretty cool for doing a nighttime thing. Not too sure about daytime. I would think that kind of framing on around side, particularly on a first-person shooter where you want to have as much FOV as possible, would be somewhat of a distraction. But for nighttime, or even let's say for example, guy is scoping, we can have a scope in the middle here, and then we can increase decrease that. I don't know if we can just suck that already, and obviously it doesn't. Sometimes you can punch in a value and it'll accept it. There we go. We have tunnel vision. Okay, we have there we have our scope. So we can increase or decrease use it for that purpose. Graininess adds dirt, grain. So if you wanted to make something that was film quality with graininess, computer perfect is not digital is not grainy. It's clean, and it took a while for people to kind of adjust to digitally created movies because they were expecting that kind of graininess, which is, it's film damage, but it's what they expected as being a quality, I guess you could say it, of a movie. So color grading is an interesting feature that I'm going to want to get in a little bit deeper. We need a special type of material. And I have to do a little bit more research onto this, and I'm pretty sure that the material is going to be special, particularly designed for a specific purpose. But what I believe it does is obviously changes the overall color grading of all items within the scene. So using something that's a little bit aggressive, which obviously changes everything, including the sky. I can see this being something that can be used with the proper type of material, to actually add grime and grunge through color grading. Obviously, if I can find a proper flat matte material. Now I'm just playing. I'm just messing around. So I'll find proper materials and get back to you on this. I know, playing around. I did hit on one material by accident, I guess, that kind of made the whole area look like something out of Silent Hill, and and I thought it was pretty cool, just as kind of effect, playing around with these different values. Bloom. This is of course, anything that has a high reflectivity as a surface. We can add and decrease glare. So this being able to add an intensity bloom to our sun replaces that feature in the atmosphere fog that increased and decreased the glare on the sun too as well. So it's a duplication of a same feature. So just to be aware of that this kind of thing would drive you nutsy crazy, ping-ponging back and forth between different widgets and gizmos that do the same thing, and just sort of compounds it. You turn one off and you say, okay, bloom, I don't want it. You turn it off, boom, hey, how come I still got bloom? So light propagation volume, I'm not going to get into that right now, because last time I checked, this is one of those things that you have to turn on by adding a line to one of the Unreal 4's control files, and unless if I have to turn on something using a word processor or a text editor, it's not really a feature that I'm interested in getting too involved with at that time. It's let's see if they actually did integrate it yet. No effect. No effect. So this actually requires some setup. I believe you have to. It has to use. Be used to, I believe, with the directional light, and the directional light has to be movable, which means dynamic lighting, and dynamic lighting is not necessarily something that is a must-have as far as a classic game like ours goes. It's a first-person shooter, run and gun, so we don't have to be too fancy with the graphics. We just need to make it look sexy, so to speak. Auto exposure. Ambient cube map. This is gives you an opportunity, chance to use HDR. Excuse me. HDR eyes, which extracts the lighting information from the cube map. So whether it may or may not work to your taste, I don't know, but it's more of once again one of those photorealistic type of things that you want after. We're after more styling, so we'll, it'd be an interesting thing to investigate if you can find a kind of HDR that would suit your scene. But once again, this is one of those features that I find that conflicts with its behavior conflicts with our overall lighting as being our base to work from. So that'd be something I would probably leave until when you're doing the spit and polish and you want to do a little bit of experimentation to see how things will react differently. So this is a toy to play with, so to speak. So you can just sort of up and down this. Need to do very little bit of parameter changes as to choices. Figure out which one you want to use. Do you want to use directional? Do you want to use skylight? Then whatever light maps that you generate, you can just sort of finesse them using the post process. Auto exposure just creates a feature, a feature I really don't like, called eye adaptation. Eye adaptation is when you walk in and out of a dark, let's say a dark place, into a sunlight, your eyes and irises and whatever has to kind of adjust to it, and you get that wall kind of flaring kind of effect. That's what they're emulating, moving from minimum brightness to a maximum brightness zone. So that's the eye adaptation zone. To turn it off, you just give the min and the max brightness the same value, and it stays static and it doesn't change. But this gives us access to as well as to exposure bias. Now you may want or not want to play around with this. Once again, it's a tweaker, and we can turn that off and see if what we got is all of a sudden, boom, it's twilight time. So this obviously gives us the ability to create lighting intensity as a side feature. So if it's a day and night and what have you, it's another way of being able to do that. Instead of moving the sun around and the sky around, we can just increase or decrease our lighting bias up and down. So you can see now how our little point light is starting to affect this area a little bit in a different way. Let's pull off a coffee on that, and we'll toss that underneath there. So we have the two lightings, interacting with one another. So that's the nice thing about the work in editor feature is we at least get a half decent preview. We press G key. This gives us a kind of an unobstructed view of how this would kind of look, sort of semi-look in the game. And once again, tailoring to taste. Now, I actually have an object selected. So that's what that does. Ambient occlusion. Not really one of those big hurrah, voodoo, hooray things. There is some, they kind of snuck this stuff down here, or I wasn't really paying attention to what these values here. So I got to kind of, this is something that you got to kind of play with. It's either hit or miss, depending on the type of lighting that you're using. In this case, if we're going for more for a nighttime scene, we might as well get rid of the directional light because we're going to push everything through point lighting anyways. And if we get rid of that, then of course our ambient occlusion will behave differently with just our skylight. And then obviously because we're decreasing the overall lighting effect using a bias through a post process. You know, anything that may be could be washed out as far as a proper ambient occlusion and what have you. So you're constantly battling between one and the other that wants to eliminate something. So there's yeah, a little bit of ambient occlusion going on and so forth. Once again, predictable result. That is what we're trying to achieve ongoing, so we can, you know, make subtle changes and what have you. Depth of field, don't like it. Not gonna be part of a first-person shooter. Nobody in first-person shooter world likes depth of field. It would be nice to just kind of add it to, you know, in Mykonos. The far plane is between the island itself. I'm going to call it Mykonos because it's not really Mykonos. It's an artistic rendition of it. But I have the far plane somewhere between the island and the cliff faces, so it gives that depth of field between in that area there, which does not affect the visibility of the players as they're running through the environment, and it does add an enhancement in that case, that specific case. So anything that's outside the tub, outside the gaming field, that's where the depth of field would be effective. You do not want to really, in a first-person shooter, use a depth of field that is equal to the depth of where the player's visibility is. Certainly not an item like motion blur. Questionable. Nobody, as far as I'm concerned, has actually done what I would consider a half-decent motion blur. But I haven't, to be honest, haven't played with to any degree because I just don't like it. But it's something to play with. Once again, as on the back end of things, I don't know if you know. Once again, we're a stylized first-person shooter, so whether or not it would be beneficial, I don't know. But we'll have to kind of look at screen space reflections. I played with this a bit. Didn't see any kind of. Let's see if we can actually get any results. Might not work because we don't actually have any kind of. Let's see. Does it tell us? We don't have any reflection cubes in here anyway, so I don't think it'll make a particular difference. Yeah. Max roughness. Yeah, nothing. Didn't do anything. So we probably need some space reflection sphere, since this is talking about screen space reflection. If you know what it is, please leave a comment. And that'll help me along, save me a little bit of time from actually looking through the documentation. I do read the doc help files, but there's a lot of information that needs to be read. Post-processing volume. This is pretty cool because you can nest post-process volumes one inside the other. And this gives it a priority order of which comes first. Obviously, if we just hover, it tells us that blah, 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 priority is volume. In the case of overlapping volumes, the one with the highest priority overrides the lower priority ones. The order is defined by two or more overlapping volumes having the same priority. So that, and then of course the blend radius is how far out the two will blend in together, and of course the blend rate, because if we have a post volume up here, and we don't have a blend, a natural type of blend from a particular type of from distance from viewing point. As we start to move into that volume, it'd be like moving in from a hot shower to a cold swimming pool, and it's just boom, change, and it kind of if this type of thing, boom. Okay, we got post processes in there, boom, oops. So we can have this kind of instantaneous change from one post process into the other. That feels rather uncomfortable, doesn't it? Yet if we play around, I don't know if this blend radius will work now until we. Yeah, it actually does. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so this is the kind of effect that you're probably looking for as you kind of move in and out of from one post process into the other. So that actually worked. Not too often pushing buttons work for me without knowing what to do. Okay, so we'll do a quick reset. Okay, so I kind of think that, believe, okay, the unbound. Unbound means it's unbound from the world, any kind of world parameter changes post-process. I only dealt with it unbound, but I'm assuming that, of course, this has some sort of connectivity to world-based values under world settings, which is what we'll get to in just a minute here. So I think what needs to be said has been said. What I'm going to do is disable it for now. And yeah, oh boy, yeah, that looks kind of like ugly-ish now. I am going to cycle our map so I can get back to where we were. And we'll start talking a little bit about tools availability. This is the thing about PoE 4 is that there's a whole bunch of little gizmo widgets, gadgets that allow you to play within that environment, to see what's going on from the first and third person perspective, and not have to compile and package and what have you. That's what we have over here. We have cook for content for Windows, packaging a project, add code to project, blah 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 blah. So this allows us to package everything up, and no point going through that process when we have tools available to us. Now let's hopefully we didn't choke. We probably did. This didn't happen. Yeah, we're choking. So I'm going to have to exit out of that, and I'm going to have to interesting. I'm going to have to reload the shooter. I have in some sort of probably I would bet it's a video driver issue. It seems to be having some sort of leak that over time, after about 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, the editor playing the Pi tends to start to choke. It starts to lag, start to get frame drops. So I start out like with a nice, really solid bang to the wall, 120. Then I go back in, it's down to 110. Go back in, it's down to 80. Back in again, it's down to 50. Back in again, and it's basically stalled out on me. So that's something, of course, I'm going to have to kind of figure out and see and fix. But since we need to play an editor to kind of demonstrate the tools, this is as I say, built on the shooter framework. So that's the game mode that I'm playing in for the purpose of testing out and seeing things from the first-person perspective. But there's all sorts of available tools that we can plug in at any time. Now that said, that's under our world settings. If we look under our world settings, we see we have a game mode override. This is a handy dandy tool because we can have different types of ways of being able to see our game at the player level from a different perspective. We can even put, like, if I wanted to, I could put a monster truck in here from the vehicle game. And we can be driving around if we had room inside of Casa here to actually drive a monster truck around. So we can have things like vehicles. We can fly around in airplanes. We can do basically anything into one event map environment, and most of the times that's rather transportable by just taking a content folder out of one project and just simply drag and dropping it into the other. No guarantee it'll work, but I've yet to see it fail. Okay, the Mixamo game character player models, for example, gives us the ability to kind of look at the game from a third-person perspective. It's kind of slow running. I wish they would come out with that it was a little bit more game-like, except for some basic rudimentary things, and it's a trudge. Oops. And it doesn't, and it can't get up the steps. Can't get up the darn steps. Come on. Nope. So it might be helpful, it might not. So once we actually start getting our game actual, I'm going to be pulling off a kit from particularly for my own use as to the game physics, so I can make sure that in game I'm running around like this and I don't have to worry about all the other bells and whistles. But it's pretty cool as a tool, because there's more and more of this kind of stuff coming out, and that we don't have to actually compile to game to actually get it to run. My favorite, the Goblin guy. I think this guy's pretty cool. I like this. Something else that we can drop in as far as tool usages goes as to gameplay. We need a dummy, so we need a pawn. Now this probably won't work. Spawn point floor 2. Okay, this probably won't work because it has to be set up a particular way. I forget how it's done to make this guy actually work. Okay, so they need to be able to change the mode. I've done it before. I'm not going to try to go off a topic now to try to figure it out. But it is you can actually attach the AI to this, drop in a nav volume, and you can be playing with bots within the map. So these kind of things I'm kind of like to pull out and make my own personal little toolkit that I can just drag and drop from one project to the other. That would be available, and makes life easier. So all of this stuff is loaded in on top. And a lot of stuff that you can introduce into it, you can get from the Epic Marketplace, and it'll be in the launcher, and you can just add it to whatever project you want. So that's just kind of to point out the game mode override. Introduce it as a possible tool that you have access to. Another cool thing is just to play around with is gravity. Let's see. Let's see, where are you? Game mode, physics, light mass. In world settings, right? Okay, so light mass. There goes a big truck. Okay, physics. I know it's probably underneath one of these folders here. Where are you? You know, it's one of those things that you always find right away, but can't find it when you need it. It's like a pencil. Okay, I'm not going to bother, but we can change the. There it is. Override world gravity Z. We'll go 10, and we'll jump in. Oh, we're floating away. We're floating away. Up and away. Bonk. Okay, we hit the obviously hit the top. And then of course we can change that force in real time if we wanted to, etc., etc., etc. So 0, global 0. I'm wondering what 0 would do. It would probably just hang there. Wherever we are is where we'll hang. Okay, we're on the ground. Can we move? Barely. Hey, doesn't this look familiar? Woo! Icy map. So yeah, the 0 means we don't move up or down. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, that's enough fun and games. I covered enough, I think, to kind of polish this off without going off onto my usual rant or raise or what have you. And this way, I just did this to kind of fill things out, completeness, so to speak. So that's it until I actually get this done, and we can start dealing with it from there. Now, if you have any questions, obviously you can go over to our website, urbanterror.info, and ask your questions in our mapping sections. We would love to hear from anybody who would like to become involved in mapping in general. We do invite third party. We will be inviting third parties to be able to make maps for our game. So along with, I believe, Unreal Tournament, which is certainly a reboot of that genre of allowing, that's kind of disappeared there for a while. I'm pretty sure that anybody that, like me, who goes back as far as the quick 3 days of shrink-wrapped, shrink-wrapped textures and gummy bear player models would appreciate the idea that, you can do some cool make maps things and actually have people play on it. So anyways, we're done and we're over, and later, see ya.